Kia ora. Welcome to this slideshow all about managing chronic fatigue syndrome with reflexology. My name's Yasirian Faye and I own a business here in New Zealand called Becoming Healthy, where I help people and support them to find balance in their lives and empower clients to regain their own health so they can start living the lives they want. Reflexology is one of those tools that I use, and so here I just wanted to share a few ideas on how you can manage the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome using reflexology in the comfort of your own home. First of all, I'd just like to start talking about autoimmune disorders because chronic fatigue syndrome comes under this autoimmune disease umbrella, and it can affect 2 to 4 people per 1,000 worldwide. Autoimmune diseases tend to affect women more than men, and globally they demobilize more women than cancer and heart disease combined. Many autoimmune diseases have no known cause, which makes diagnosis difficult. But essentially, all autoimmune diseases are the body's own defense mechanism overworking and eventually working against the body, attacking it. Chronic fatigue syndrome strikes all ages and socioeconomic groups. So what is chronic fatigue syndrome? Well, as the name suggests, it is a lot to do with a chronic fatigue, and it is a form of autoimmune disease. Sufferers have extreme fatigue which does not improve with rest, and while it's been documented since the 1980s, there is still currently no cure. Diagnosis and treatments, therefore, are focused solely on the symptoms. To be diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, sufferers need to experience 4 or more symptoms for a period of 6 months or more. So some of the possible symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome that the doctor will be looking for before they diagnose you is fatigue, loss of memory or concentration, sore throat, enlarged lymph nodes in your neck or armpits, unexplained muscle pain, pain that moves from one joint to another without swelling or redness, headaches of a new type, pattern or severity, unrefreshing sleep, extreme exhaustion lasting for more than 24 hours after the physical or mental exercise has been completed. And you might be wondering at this point, well, how can reflexology help? How can massaging my feet actually help these symptoms? Well, reflexology has been around for a long time, as massage has, and in that time there are many benefits that have been documented by the people who have had reflexology treatments, and some of these are as listed here. So there's an enhanced sense of well-being. There can be a reduction of stress levels, and encouragement for relaxation, improved circulation, revitalized energy, pacifying chronic pain, and helping the body clear itself of impurities. If we look at the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome and reflexology's benefits, it becomes a little bit clearer. So a symptom of fatigue, well, reflexology can help in revitalizing energy within the body. A symptom of unrefreshing sleep, reflexology can help encourage relaxation and also help with regulating sleep patterns. Symptom of pain, reflexology can help pacify chronic pain. A symptom of enlarged lymph nodes, reflexology can help clear the body of impurities through using a lymphatic stimulation treatment. And a symptom of extreme exhaustion, reflexology can help by enhancing the overall sense of well-being in the person. So what I'm going to present here are just some ideas of points on the feet that you can work or rub to help with some of those symptoms. Obviously, when you go to a professional reflexologist, they'll be using a particular massage technique and working on certain reflexes to help you. However, these are just points that you can rub at home as you feel comfortable, or I have put some ideas of circular motions or which way to work the points. But ideally, it's really getting in tune with your own body and feeling the difference between when you start rubbing these points and maybe a week later or 2 weeks later when they're not as tender or the body's starting to recoup and come more into balance. So the first reflexes to assist that I want to talk about is the Solar Plexus. And you can see these 2 yellow dots, and where they are is actually as the ball of the foot, right under the ball of the foot, in the middle. So if you imagine there's a line under the ball of the foot where the colour changes, and right in the middle of that is a solar plexus reflex. So the solar plexus is a network of nerves relating to the sympathetic system, or our flight or fight system. And we can help the person to relax by working this point. It also increases the oxygen in our system due to the taking of 3 deep breaths, and it helps in centering and calming the client. And how we work it is we press in on the inhale and release on the exhale. The next reflexes to assist are the pineal and the pituitary. Now, I'll just mention here that the idea of reflexology, if you aren't familiar with it, is that the whole body is mapped out on the feet. So here the toes are related to the head. The balls of the feet are related to the lungs. The middle section is related to our middles, and the heels relate to our hips and pelvis area, as just a rough guideline. So you'll see here this is working the pineal and pituitary glands, which are in the brain. So the pineal gland secretes the hormone melatonin, which is believed to be a sleep trigger. Working the pineal can help to regulate rhythms in the body, namely the modulation of sleep patterns, which can help with that unrefreshing sleep that we mentioned before. The pituitary gland plays a major role in regulating vital body functions and general well-being. So working this point can help with the balancing of glandular tissues and nervous system tissues. And just rubbing around all the toes can help relax the brain. Press in maybe where you feel more sensitivity, rub in a circular motion or across the foot, whichever works for you. The idea is not that you're giving yourself a full reflexology treatment, but rather you're coming in tune with your body and feeling how it's feeling and working with it. The next reflexes to assist are the spine. Now the picture doesn't show it very clearly here, so I'll just describe. If we start at the point where the yellow line starts, which is that bump that comes out of your big toe, and you start moving towards the ankle bone, you'll feel that there's a ridge of bones coming down. This is the spinal reflexes. So they come down towards the ankle bone and then they come back in towards the heel. The health of the spine can often dictate our well-being, and the nervous system runs down the length of the spine. So there has been evidence of the connection between the central nervous system and chronic fatigue syndrome. So working these spinal reflexes can help the body to calm and balance itself. As I mentioned, there's that bony area, and we rub along the bony area, following the bone from the big toe to the heel. In reflexology, when we work this area, working down from the big toe to the heel will have a relaxing effect. If we work from the heel up to the big toe, it has an energizing effect for the body. So depending on what time of day you're giving your feet a rub, you may want to work down or up. The next reflexes to assist are the liver, thymus, and spleen. Now on my drawing here, you'll see the sections underneath the big toe. This is the thymus. The largest section on the right-hand foot is the liver, and the smaller dot on the left-hand foot is the spleen. So the liver helps remove toxins from the body. Working this reflex will help in this organ functioning well and ensure the person's not being bogged down with toxins. The thymus has the role of developing important T cells, which are at the base of an adaptive immunity. Working these reflexes, an area which is clearly out of balance for sufferers of chronic fatigue syndrome because their immune system isn't adapting, it's just attacking them and overworking, can really help improve immunity. The spleen is the largest lymph node in the body, which stores and filters blood. It removes harmful bacteria and viruses from the bloodstream, which is important in attaining and maintaining health. So working the spleen reflexes can help improve the function of the spleen and thereby help in improving the health of sufferers of chronic fatigue syndrome. As I mentioned before, it's just rubbing and coming in tune with your own body, and in a circular motion will probably work just as well as anything, but really come in tune. I invite you to really feel how your body's feeling and do what feels right on your foot. The next reflexes to assist are the stomach and intestines. So you'll see here the stomach is these areas above the orange line. The yellow squiggly lines represent the small intestines, and the orange line is the large intestine. So around 70% of our immune system is actually in this gastrointestinal tract, the stomach and intestines. The stomach and intestines are responsible for absorbing nutrients which the body uses and excreting waste from our body. And the good bacteria in our gut is extremely important to our immunity and the balanced function of it. Working these areas can assist energy flowing through the body and the improved function of these areas, or improved immunity. As chronic fatigue syndrome is an autoimmune issue, working these areas are really important to help bring the body back into balance. So working the stomach reflex in a circular motion, the small intestines is best to work back and forth across the width of the foot, working from the midline down to the heel. And when I say the midline, if you follow the outside of your foot, you'll feel there's a little, along the little toe side, you'll feel there's a bump. And if you take this across the width of the foot, this is what reflexologists refer to as the waistline. So we're working below that waistline, just like our intestines are below our waistline. And the large intestines, that orange line, will follow in the direction that the line shows. So starting on the right hand foot, coming up, and then across on the right hand foot, and then across on the left hand foot, down the left hand side, and then down towards the heel, and then back up slightly. This is the direction our intestines work in, a clockwise direction. The next reflexes to assist are the kidneys. And you'll see here they're sort of yellow blobs in the middle of your feet. Best way to locate these for you at home is, as I said, come down the outside of the foot on the little toe side. Find that bump, the waistline bump. Come across the foot and then come down an imaginary line from the second toe. And where these two lines meet, just above that is the kidney reflex. And above the kidneys is the adrenals, which will probably be a little bit more tender. So you'll know if you're up too high, if it starts feeling a bit too tender, just drop down a wee bit, because you've probably slipped up into the adrenal area. So the kidneys in our bodies filter out toxins and waste which the body does not want or need. And it keeps the water levels of our body balanced. Kidneys regulate blood pressure and also ensure there's enough oxygen in our blood. This means all the oxygens are getting enough clean and oxygenated blood to function. In Chinese reflexology, this is actually one of the key reflexes to work, because without this clean and oxygenated blood, we wouldn't be alive, we wouldn't be able to live. So this is a really important reflex. So working these reflexes will help with the overall health, as I mentioned, well-being and energy levels of the person being maintained. The last one I'm going to talk about is a lymphatic stimulation. Now, this is a specific treatment which a professional reflexologist can offer. The lymphatic system is essential for maintaining a healthy life, and our lymphatic system is the part of our body that takes the waste out of our system. Unlike the circulatory system, which has the heart to pump it around, however, the lymphatic system doesn't have anything to move the lymph around and relies on us moving in order to get this lymph moving in our body and out. For people with chronic fatigue syndrome, this can be a huge task to ask them to exercise. And this is where massage and reflexology comes into its own. Because working these lymphatic system reflexes can help clear the body of any waste. This massage in itself as a full treatment is very relaxing, but using a stimulation part of it is extremely relaxing and calming way to end a reflexology treatment. So if you can ask your reflexologist for a taste of the lymphatic stimulation, it's well worth the enjoyment at the end. For you at home, the best way to just get a touch of this lymphatic stimulation is to rub the webbing between your big toe and the second toe up. You'll sort of feel it's a softer bit in between where the bones are. Rub it up, starting at the base, up towards the big toe only. And this is moving, it's a major drainage point for the lymphatic system. So it's moving the lymph up into that drainage point. So in summary, chronic fatigue syndrome has no known cause or cure, and treatment of chronic fatigue syndrome is based on the symptoms. And this is where reflexology comes in really nicely, because it deals with many of the symptoms experienced with chronic fatigue syndrome. And it also offers people a way of being able to cope with those symptoms themselves at home in a holistic way. Because reflexology is a holistic treatment which treats on all levels: physical, mental, emotional and spiritual. and it really does provide chronic fatigue sufferers with a proven and effective relaxation method. So I hope this has given you a few useful ideas that you can try at home to actually help negate some of those symptoms that you're feeling and to bring some energy back into your life and feel empowered that you can actually take control and do something about the symptoms you're feeling. It's been wonderful to be able to present this to you, and I'd love to hear your feedback either via my email here, wifi@becominghealthy.co.nz, or on my Facebook page, or even if you want to visit my website, www.becominghealthy.co.nz, join up the newsletter, you get a free book with it when you do, and let me know all the good parts or even the bad parts so that I can improve this slideshow for those of you who are wanting to use it. Until I speak to you again, I hope this finds you happy, healthy, and full of energy, and giving reflexology a go. It really is a wonderful tool to be able to have in your kit.